Hey everyone, it is Friday, February 11th. The time is 1:47 p.m. and the temperature right now is around 4 degrees Celsius. And this here is Yonge Street. And that was a McDonald's where I just had lunch. So I'm now walking north up the east side of Yonge. I just made my way over here from the studio district where I recorded a video. And it is lightly raining right now. And I think for this one I'm going to head on up to Queen Street. And then I'll cut north through City Hall and make my way over to University Avenue, and then maybe I'll walk through the University of Toronto campus and finish up somewhere around St. George Station. So this is Richmond Street here. And Queen Street will be coming up next, so I'll be turning left, which is west. There's a look over at Saks Fifth Avenue. And it's worth noting that earlier today, the province declared a state of emergency. So that would have been declared by the provincial government. Although I don't think that affects things on the ground here in Toronto too much. Although there is word that there might be another large-scale protest tomorrow. And I think the city currently has Queen's Park Circle closed off. So I'll be passing by there. And this is the Eaton Center, just on the right. Although it looks like that entrance is under construction. And I think the reason for the state of emergency is to ensure that, I have it listed here, but the safe passage of vehicles that are transporting goods and services, and to ensure that the US border is not blocked, as well as our 400 series highways. And non-compliance can get you a fine of up to $100,000, as well as losing any commercial licenses you must have, or you might have. There's Old City Hall. And here is Bay Street. And it's certainly starting to rain a bit more than when I first stepped out of McDonald's. I don't have my umbrella out. There's a look south down Bay Street. there is New City Hall just across the street, so I'll be heading over that way. There you can see my phone is starting to get covered in rain. And in turn, my camera as well. So I'll cut through City Hall here, and I'll pop out near Hospital Row and University. And seeing as it is above zero, I think this rain, along with the non-freezing temperatures, is going to do away with a lot of the snow and kind of turn it into a wet mush of sorts. I don't think that's the right word, but you get the idea. And this part of Queen Street is usually lined with these food vendors, although throughout the pandemic there's been certainly a lot less of them.
Idiot, why wouldn't you keep your phone on?
And here we are at New City Hall. See if I can get a closer view of the ice surface here. There's not too many people out on it. Don't want to get too close to someone's personal belongings there and freak them out. It's always an element of trust when you leave your stuff out in public like that and go do something like skating. Someone grabbed it and ran. What are your options? You're on ice skates. It's kind of like if you're ever at a beach somewhere and you're alone or with just one other person and you want to go into the water. I never feel comfortable in that position. I'm always looking back at my stuff. Although I did stay at a place in Boracay in the Philippines called the Red Coconut. And it backed onto the beach, and they had security guards that would watch your stuff for you while you went to the water. And even then I still felt a little uneasy. I know some people that got married in this building, including my brother and a really good friend from high school. And I think I told this story before. I was working across the street in that tall white building there, First Canadian Place. And it just so happened that his wedding lined up with my lunch hour. So I came across the street on my lunch and attended a wedding. And we found some cover. Just going to make sure the lens isn't covered in water here. There's a few water drops on it. Let me wipe that off just in case. So this area is where the old Chinatown was. And a lot of it was expropriated to make way for New City Hall. And there's a pretty big snowman in this little park here. I think that might be Winston Churchill. that statue right there. Peace Through Valor, the Italian-Canadian community dedicates this memorial to the more than 93,000 Canadians who took part in World War II. Yeah, look at that. There's a rather imposing figure. The man who stood up to Hitler. And this is Chestnut Street. And you can see the U.S. consulate off in the distance there on University Avenue. That's the Chestnut Residence and Conference Center on the right. The Rogers batteryless radio. I think that was invented by Ted Rogers, or Ted Rogers Sr. maybe. There's the DoubleTree. That's one hotel chain I've never stayed at. All right, I'm thinking I might want to fetch my umbrella out of my bag here. And of course the USB cable flops out along with the umbrella. One thing when I zip my umbrellas back up is I always take these zippers and I tuck them in so you don't have to listen to them flapping up and down as I walk. All right, we have cover. There goes a police cruiser in a hurry. This here is Dundas Street West, and I'm now heading west along the south side, only for a block or so, I guess a block and a half. And this is University Avenue coming up. And last weekend, the police closed this, starting at Queen Street to the south. It was closed north all the way up through Queen's Park, up to Avenue in Bloor. It is open now, but apparently, the plan is to use these city garbage trucks here. As barriers to block the streets off. That's why they'd be lined up here. It's kind of an interesting sight. And I didn't make it to the second stage of the crossing here. That's okay, we can go north here. This will put me on the median. So this is north on University Boulevard. That's an ambulance with its sirens going. I'm entering an area known as Restaurant Row. Restaurant Row's King Street West, dummy. Hospital Row. I was here last Friday. I was at night recording a video as these streets were completely closed down at that time. I've always felt University Avenue was a bit underwhelming. Given that it's our big grand boulevard, often parade routes will pass through here. Aside from the Canada Life building, which is to the south of here, which we can't really see, there's not much in the way of architectural gems or the type of big grand building you might associate with this kind of area. Yikes. Maybe at this point I'll cross over to the west side of University here rather than walk up the median. I think about 3 weeks ago I did a night walk where I went down the median. These new lighting elements were all lit up and they look pretty neat. There's Sick Kids Hospital across the street. There's the Walter and Maria Schroeder Institute for Brain Innovation and Recovery. That's part of the Toronto Rehabilitation Institute. And here's Mount Sinai on the left. And Toronto General across the street. So I think over the next few weeks I'm going to have to make a conscious effort to avoid this part of University Avenue. I've been recording it too often lately. And it's entirely possible I'll be back at some point tomorrow as well. Maybe just on a live stream if I do that. There's Princess Margaret Hospital on the left. The Cadoso and Slate Building. So this was all closed off last Friday when I was here. There's a Toronto police vehicle, the Forensic Identification Services. There's a couple of news minivans behind it, CBC and CP24. And that is Queen's Park straight ahead, the Provincial Legislative Assembly. And that's where the government would have announced the emergency measures going into place. So I'm just going to hang around to the west side of the property. The last few times I walked through here and recorded, I walked around the right side of Queen's Park Circle. There's some City of Toronto dump trucks, I guess. Maybe I incorrectly called them garbage trucks earlier. Blocking off Queen's Park Circle. And this is College Street. And this whole area is surrounded by the University of Toronto. And there we'll find Queen's Park Subway Station. And I think I see some Toronto Mounted Police making their way south. We've been seeing quite a lot of this lately. Well, the last few times I saw them, there were only 4 horses. I think I'm counting 6 here. So other than emergency vehicles, and I guess City of Toronto vehicles, we shouldn't see any cars driving through here. Maybe employees at Queen's Park would be permitted to pass through. Part of me kind of wishes you could just stroll down the middle of the street. And there's a present left behind. Well, better there than in the bike lane where they usually leave it. There's a look into the University of Toronto, and I think I see some more mounted police coming up. Area temporarily closed for construction. Access to King's College Road, I think, is blocked. So it's pretty quiet out here. So last week, well, my umbrella that's not supposed to turn inside out just did. So much for being windproof. There's some false advertising for you. So last week there was a very large scale, mostly peaceful protest. Actually, it's probably entirely peaceful in Toronto, and this is kind of the epicenter. And logically, Queen's Park would be the building to protest in front of, although there are concerns of blocking access to those hospitals. I think seeing horses riding through the city is pretty cool. If only they had someone trailing them to clean up their mess. And I could cut through here, but I think the area around the Hart House is under construction. There's where Wellesley Street begins. Let's look into the campus grounds. Victoria College is on the other side of Queen's Park, off in that direction. But rather than continue north here, I think I'll pass through U of T, maybe head up Philosopher's Walk. It's always nice walking through there. So I'll turn left at Hoskin coming up. And that's an extension of Harvard. Let's look back at Queen's Park. That car must be here on official business. Oh, I can go this way rather than go up to Hoskin. Let's cut through here. I have never been this way. I didn't actually go to the University of Toronto. I went to York University. So other than coming here to record videos, I'm not super familiar with this campus. I think I know my way around it well enough. This is the most populated school in Canada. Is that the correct way to word that? The most attended? School with the most students? And they have campuses out in the suburbs. There's one out in Mississauga where I grew up. And that one's in a very secluded area off of Mississauga Road. And they have a Scarborough campus out on the opposite end, although Scarborough technically is in the city of Toronto. It wasn't always. And there's some large athletic playing surfaces straight ahead. There's Robarts Library. I've been criticized before for calling it ugly, but it is, in my opinion, a top 3 ugly building in the city. Although it is currently being expanded on the west side, so I'm curious to see how that turns out. From one of the most hideous buildings in the city to one of the nicest. There's Trinity College straight ahead. And they have completely blocked this part of the street off. I've got an officer at the Queen's Park end. And they're blocking it off in that end as well. Maybe I'll go that way. I was gonna go up through Philosopher's Walk. That's kind of a nice scenic walk. We'll save it for a better day. Certainly quiet on the campus today. And this is Devonshire Place here on the right. Yeah, let's go this way. St. George Street was the next major street going north-south. I've covered that a number of times before. Other than walking through here once on a live stream, I don't think I've ever been this way. And I think that's the Monk School of Global Affairs on the right. And we'll be walking past Varsity Stadium and Varsity Arena in a minute. As my feet splash down on the sidewalk on every step. So straight up ahead is Bloor Street West. That'll take me into the Annex neighborhood. There's a look east. Those towers are mostly along the Yonge Street corridor. Although the plane surface is covered by a giant dome. So nuts to the idea of being able to get a nice view of that. This Gold Ring Center here actually has some seating that you can view the football surface and soccer and whatever else they're doing from across the street. That's kind of neat. And it says it's a center for high performance sport. Well, seating more like exercise equipment, but you could hop on a treadmill there or an exercise bike and get a nice view of the game. And I could turn right and head over to Bedford Road. That's in the direction of the Royal Ontario Museum. Oh, it looks like some protesters have arrived early. Or just super patriotic people. Some Canadian flags on those trucks. Or I could just walk over to St. George here and head into the station, and that's what I'll be doing. That guy just said hi to me. I don't know if he's one of those people selling charitable causes or not. And here is St. George Street. And there is St. George Station. So I'm going to fumble around here, put the umbrella away, put the mask on, try not to drop the camera in the process, pull out my transit card, and head down to the Line 2 eastbound platform. You can also grab Line 1 here. Or I could just conveniently set my camera down on this thing. There we go. You can watch the world pass by while I get ready to head in. I've got a wet umbrella and some electronics in my backpack. Brought my laptop with me, as I'm going to go hang out in a cafe for a bit. Be careful to keep the wet umbrella far away from that. There we go. I apologize for that momentary delay. There you go. Those card readers can be really flaky sometimes. Well, I could have got on that train. It's heading to Finch, but I would have to go south all the way down the downtown loop, and I don't want to do that. Why do people go up the left side of the stairs? That really should be some kind of fine. And it says the next train is not for 4 minutes. But there'll be one coming from this direction, which I could also take, actually. Well, of course I could, and I wouldn't be going anywhere I want to go if I went there. But on that note, I hope you enjoyed this walk, starting on Yonge Street, just south of Queen, passing through City Hall, University Avenue, and Queen's Park. And if you wish to support the channel, there are links to my Patreon and YouTube channel membership in the description. I have an Instagram account at Johnny Strides, and there's a link to PayPal as well. So don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. But my camera just got stuck there. There we go. Flip it back around. Still 3 minutes. All right, thank you for watching, and I will catch you on the next one.